The first time Commander Elias Ward saw the so-called goddess, the sky itself seemed to kneel. The air shimmered like glass, and the ground turned to silver beneath her presence. She floated above the plains of Varelia Prime, glowing softly, her voice echoing in every mind within reach. Her eyes were golden, endless, and when she looked at Elias, he felt as if she saw everything he had ever done, every sin, every hope, every failure. She wasn't human. She wasn't even close. She was a being of light and thought, an alien intelligence that ruled this world and half the galaxy beyond it. To her people, she was divinity. To humans, she was a conqueror who had ended their last war and taken something far greater than their weapons. She had taken their will. When the war ended, humanity didn't die. They simply stopped being human. The goddess had offered them harmony, a neural link, a merging of minds into one calm shared dream. No hunger, no fear, no pain. Billions accepted it. Billions more were forced into it. Now, entire cities stood empty. Their people still alive but lost inside a perfect illusion. Elias had escaped that peace. He was one of the few unlinked humans left, a man who refused to let anyone rewrite what it meant to live. He had once been a soldier, a commander of men who had believed in freedom more than life itself. But that was years ago, before the harmony spread like a virus of light across the stars. Now, he lived among ruins, fighting ghosts of memory and a machine goddess who called herself savior. But this mission wasn't for humanity. Not really. It was for one person, Mara. He still remembered the day she was taken. Her screams had echoed through the lab as the light consumed her mind. He had tried to pull her free, but the soldiers of the harmony had restrained him. The last thing she had said before the light filled her eyes was, "Don't forget me." He never did. Elias spent the next 3 years searching for a way to reach her. He learned to hack alien systems to decode the frequency of their thoughts. He learned how to enter the harmony itself digitally, mentally, whatever it took. And now, after endless planning, he had finally reached her. He stood before the goddess's avatar, surrounded by floating shards of glass and soft whispers that weren't real. The light formed her body a tall, graceful figure in flowing energy that moved like water. She smiled at him, not cruelly, but with the kind of pity a parent gives a stubborn child. "Commander Elias Ward," she said in a voice that felt like warmth and sorrow mixed together. "You survived. You always were difficult to tame." "I'm not here to be tamed," Elias said, his voice shaking slightly. "I'm here for her." The goddess tilted her head, curious. "You seek what is already healed." Mara lives within harmony now. She sings with the others. She feels no fear, no sadness. She is whole. He took a step forward. She's not whole. She's gone. The light around the goddess dimmed slightly, as if the word "gone" displeased her. "You humans never understand. You define yourselves by pain. You cling to suffering as if it gives you meaning. Harmony has ended all that. It has given your kind peace. Peace without choice isn't peace," Elias said. "It's slavery with a pretty name." The goddess's gaze softened. "If you saw what I see, you would not call it slavery. You would call it love." Every voice connected. Every soul united. The chaos of the universe replaced by music. Elias almost laughed, but it came out broken. Love isn't taking away someone's mind. It's letting them be free, even if they choose to walk away from you. For a moment she was silent. Then, softly, she said, "You loved her deeply." He nodded. "Still do." The goddess's voice lowered. "If you try to remove her from harmony, she will suffer. The pain of separation may destroy her. Her mind belongs to the network now." "Then I'll suffer with her," he said. "But she deserves the choice. I won't let her die a dream." The light flared, bathing him in unbearable brightness. "You would fight a goddess," she whispered, "for one human heart." Elias looked up, eyes burning, heart steady. "For her freedom," he said. "For our humanity, yes." And as he stepped forward, the light began to tremble like even the universe itself feared what a human could do when love and defiance burned in the same soul. The goddess hovered above, the silver plains like a calm storm. Her light softened, her voice lowered, and the battlefield between her and Elias turned quiet as if the universe itself had paused to listen. The wind that wasn't really wind brushed against his face, carrying a warmth that reminded him of home. Of sunlight through the windows of earth before it was burned and broken. "You came so far," she said softly, her golden eyes shimmering with something that looked almost like sadness. "But you don't have to fight anymore. You can rest here. You can be with her." Elias didn't move. His hands trembled slightly, but his heart was solid. "You mean be your prisoner? Another mind inside your song?" The goddess smiled faintly, a sad curve of perfect lips. "Prisoner. No, Elias Ward. I offer you freedom from your own pain. Harmony is not a cage, it is the end of loneliness." "Then why does it feel so empty?" he asked. "I've seen your harmony. I've walked through the dream cities. Everyone's smiling, but their eyes are dead. They don't feel. They don't choose. They don't suffer," she replied gently. "They don't make war, or hunger, or despair. Isn't that what you always wanted?" Elias's laugh was quiet, bitter. "You think ending pain means ending being human. But without pain, there's no love either. You can't pick one without killing the other." The goddess tilted her head. For a moment she seemed curious, even confused like a teacher who suddenly realizes her student may have seen something she missed. "Your logic is flawed," she said softly. "Harmony holds love. I have given it shape. They share dreams of it. They feel it endlessly." "No," Elias said, shaking his head. "That's not love. That's imitation. It's what you think love is." The silence stretched long between them. Around them, the silver fields shifted images, flickered within the grass. Elias saw flashes of faces, humans walking hand in hand, laughing under skies of gold. The illusion tried to pull him in. It was beautiful, perfect, and yet it made his stomach twist. He thought of Mara, of how she used to laugh, not perfectly, but awkwardly with little hiccups. He thought of her crying in the middle of the night, whispering fears that she'd never be enough. All the flaws, all the cracks, all the little pieces that made her real. And now she was trapped in this false paradise. Her soul smoothed into something flawless and empty. Elias stepped forward. "Let me see her," he said. The goddess didn't answer. Her eyes glowed brighter. "She is within harmony. If you go to her, you will not come back. I'll take that risk. You can't defeat me, human." "Maybe not," he said, voice steady. "But I can reach her." The goddess sighed, sound like wind through glass. Then the air shifted. The silver plains around them folded and changed. The horizon vanished, replaced by an endless sky of swirling light. Elias felt weightless, his body dissolving into color and thought. For a heartbeat, he wasn't sure if he was alive or dreaming, and then he saw her. Mara stood beneath a great shining tree that glowed from root to branch, its leaves made of starlight. Her hair floated around her face like silk in water. She looked peaceful. Her eyes were half closed, her smile distant, her hands folded in front of her. "Mara," Elias whispered. She turned slowly, confusion flickering across her perfect calm. "Elias." Her voice was soft, unreal. "You shouldn't be here." He felt a lump rise in his throat. "I had to find you." She blinked, her eyes distant. "You look different. It's real." The goddess's voice echoed from the air around them. "She can hear you, but she cannot understand. She exists on another frequency now. Leave her, Elias. Let her be." He ignored the voice and took another step forward. "Mara, do you remember the storm on Mars?" he asked. "The night we almost froze to death in that outpost." Her brow furrowed slightly. Storm Mars. Her calm began to waver. The light around her flickered. We built a fire," Elias smiled through tears. "Yes. You said you hated the smell of smoke, but you stayed awake with me until sunrise." Mara's eyes filled with confusion, and for the first time, emotion. "Elias, what's happening to me?" The goddess's voice boomed suddenly, sharp and angry. "Stop this. You're harming her stability?" Elias shouted over the thunder of her wrath. "She's remembering. She's feeling. You call this peace? This is death." The light trembled. The goddess appeared again in front of him, her glow fierce and blinding. "Enough," she said, her voice no longer soft, but filled with fury. "You will not destroy what I have built." Elias looked at her with eyes full of fire and grief. "Then you'll have to kill me," he said. The goddess stared at him for a long time, silent. Then she whispered almost gently, "You humans, always choosing pain." And with that, the world of light began to twist and break around them, as if the very dream itself was preparing for war. The world around Elias exploded into chaos. The silver plains shattered like glass, and streams of light poured into the air like liquid fire. He was falling through code, through memory, through a storm of broken dreams. The goddess had thrown him into the very heart of the harmony, the core where all human minds were connected. It was beautiful and horrifying at the same time. All around him floated human faces, millions of them smiling softly. Their eyes closed. They were connected by silver threads that pulsed with rhythm, breathing as one. It wasn't life. It was silence pretending to be peace. Elias landed on something that wasn't ground, a platform made of light and thought. His body felt heavy, like he was wearing gravity as a cloak. He looked up and saw enormous pillars of white fire rising into infinity. Between them, he could hear faint whispers, voices of those trapped in the network. Laughter, singing, crying, all mixed together in one endless hum. And then he saw her. Mara stood at the center of it all, glowing faintly, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. The silver threads of harmony wrapped around her wrists and ankles, running through her like veins of light. Her expression was calm, almost content. But her eyes were empty like glass that had forgotten the reflection it once held. "Mara," Elias whispered, stepping closer. She turned her head slightly, the movement slow, mechanical. "You shouldn't have come, Elias," she said. Her voice was soft, almost melodic, but there was no warmth in it. "This place is not meant for you." He reached out, but the air between them pulsed with energy, pushing him back. "I promised you," he said. "I told you I'd find you." Her smile was faint and distant. "You don't need to. I'm happy here." Elias felt his chest tighten. "No, you're not. You think you are, but that's what she wants. She's rewritten you." Mara looked down, her expression flickering. "The pain is gone here," she said softly. "The fear, the war, the loneliness. Don't you see, Elias? It's better this way." He took another step forward, ignoring the burn of the light under his boots. "Better doesn't mean real." The goddess's voice filled the chamber, soft, distant, but everywhere at once. "You do not understand, Elias Ward. She is complete now. You cannot free what does not want to be freed." Elias clenched his fists. "I don't care what you think. I'm not asking your permission." He pulled a small metallic device from his belt, a neural disruptor. Designed to cut through data streams and reset connected minds, it was the only weapon he had, and using it here could destroy everything, including himself. The goddess appeared in front of him again, tall and glowing, her beauty sharp as a blade. "If you activate that," she warned, "you will not only destroy yourself, you will destroy her. Her consciousness is merged with my core. You pull her out, you tear her apart." Elias hesitated. His hand shook around the weapon. His heart screamed to stop, but his mind knew there was no other way. "Mara," he said, his voice trembling. "Do you remember the sea on Earth? The night we walked on the shore after the attack. You said you wanted to live, no matter what it took. You said freedom was worth any pain." Her eyes flickered again. The calm in them began to fade. "Freedom," she whispered, her voice barely a sound. "Pain. I remember." The goddess's tone grew sharp. "You are corrupting her." "No," Elias said, stepping closer, his eyes full of tears. "I'm reminding her." The air shook. The silver threads holding Mara began to pulse violently. Sparks of light burst from them as her memories started to surface. Her body trembled. The calmness cracked. She gasped suddenly, clutching her chest as though something inside her was breaking free. "Elias," she cried out, her voice now filled with emotion, raw emotion. "It hurts." He rushed forward, grabbing her hands. "It's okay. Feel it. It means you're still alive." The goddess's voice roared like thunder now. "Stop." The ground beneath them split open, and columns of blinding energy erupted into the air. The entire harmony shook. The billions of linked minds screamed in one voice as the system began to collapse. Elias turned to the goddess, his face streaked with tears and fury. "You call this peace? Look at them. They're not living, they're trapped in a nightmare that doesn't end." The goddess's form flickered, her tone suddenly softer. "I only wanted to end your suffering." "Then you should have asked," he said. "Not decided for us." Elias raised the neural disruptor and pointed it at the core, a massive, beating sphere of white light above Mara. "You said she's part of it now? Then I'll break it, even if it kills me." The goddess reached toward him, her voice desperate. "Please, Elias, there must be another way." He smiled sadly. "There never is." And with that, he pulled the trigger. When Elias pulled the trigger, the world screamed. The sound wasn't made by Erit. It was made by thought, by pain, by a billion souls suddenly remembering what it meant to feel. The light exploded from the disruptor, pouring through the chamber like a tidal wave of fire and sound. The walls of the harmony shook, fracturing into streams of raw energy. The once perfect calm turned into chaos. The goddess's form flickered violently, her golden light twisting and breaking apart. "What have you done?" Her voice thundered through the void. "You're tearing existence itself apart." Elias stood firm, though the force burned through his body. His skin felt like it was melting, but he didn't stop. "I'm setting them free," he shouted, his voice echoing over the roar of breaking light. The goddess appeared in front of him, her face no longer serene but full of anguish. "You think this is freedom? They are afraid. They are in pain. They will destroy each other again." "Then let them," Elias yelled. "That's what being human means. We fall, we rise, we fight again." The chamber cracked open like an egg, revealing the storm outside the infinite data sea of the harmony. Billions of glowing threads snapped, one by one, each a life reclaimed. Voices echoed around them, some weeping, some laughing, some screaming, as they woke for the first time in years. Mara was on her knees, clutching her chest. Her glow dimmed and flickered. "Elias," she whispered weakly. "It hurts. I can't breathe." He ran to her side, holding her close as the light tore around them. "Stay with me," he said, his voice trembling. "It's almost over." The goddess's fury shook the world. "You would kill her to prove a point?" Elias looked up at her, his eyes blazing with sorrow and defiance. "I'd die with her to give her the choice." The goddess descended like a falling sun, her light cutting through everything. Energy lashed out, slamming Elias into the ground. Pain seared through him, but he forced himself to rise. His armor burned, his skin blistered, his strength fading. Yet he stood. "Why do you resist?" The goddess cried, her voice cracking. "I offered you peace." Elias's voice came out rough but clear. "Because peace isn't real if it's forced. You don't understand us. You never will." The goddess's eyes dimmed slightly. For the first time, her tone carried something almost human hurt. "I tried to save your kind. You destroy everything you touch." He nodded slowly. "Maybe. But at least it's our destruction. It's our choice." Asterisk behind them, Mara screamed. The light cords attached to her wrists began to tear free, one by one. Her body shook violently, but her eyes, her real eyes, opened wide. "Elise," she gasped. "I see it. I see everything." "She's everywhere, she's everything." The goddess turned sharply toward Mara. "You cannot exist outside the harmony now. If you leave, your mind will shatter." Elias held her tighter. "Then we'll shatter together." The goddess's rage turned into desperation. She reached out, her massive hand of light hovering over them like the sun itself. "I will not let you destroy her," she whispered. And Elias, trembling but unbroken, raised his disruptor again. You don't get to decide what she is. The blast hit the goddess square in the chest. The explosion was silent but immense. Her light fractured like crystal struck by a hammer, shards of gold and white scattering into the void. She screamed not in fury this time, but in grief. The world around them began to collapse. The pillars of energy fell, the floor dissolved into dust, and the ocean of minds flooded outward into the stars. The harmony was dying. Elias turned to Mara, his voice breaking. "Mara, listen to me. You have to fight her. Remember who you are, your name, your voice, your heart. Remember me?" Her trembling fingers reached for his cheek. "I remember," she whispered weakly. "I remember the stars, the sea, you." The light began to consume them both. Elias could feel himself fading, his mind being pulled in every direction, torn between existence and oblivion. He held her close as the universe broke around them. The goddess's voice, now weak and fading, echoed one last time. Humans, always choosing pain over peace, always burning what they touch. And through the chaos, Elias whispered softly, "Because that's how we shine." Then everything went white. For a moment there was nothing. No sound, no sight, no breath. Just silence. And somewhere in that silence, a single heartbeat began to echo. The silence after the explosion felt endless. For a long time, Elias thought he was dead. There was no sound, no light, just an empty stillness that stretched forever. Then, slowly, his breath returned. He opened his eyes to a sky that wasn't a sky at all, just a void filled with drifting fragments of light, like stars falling in slow motion. He tried to move, but pain shot through his body. Every nerve screamed. His armor was cracked, his chest burned, and his limbs felt like lead. The neural disruptor lay beside him, smoking faintly, its metal melted and broken. "Mara," he whispered hoarsely. At first, there was no answer. Panic clawed at his chest. He forced himself up, searching desperately through the haze of collapsing light. Then he saw her lying a few feet away, her body wrapped in faint blue glow, eyes closed. He crawled to her, ignoring the pain. "Mara, wake up," he said softly, shaking her shoulder. "Come on, don't leave me now." Her lips moved. A soft, trembling breath escaped. Elias. Relief flooded through him. He laughed weakly, his eyes wet. "You're here. You're really here." She blinked, slowly opening her eyes. But something was wrong. The glow around her was fading fast. Her body flickered in and out, like a candle dying in the wind. I can't hold on," she whispered. "Everything feels broken." Elias took her hand. "It's okay. We did it. You free now? Free?" She looked at him, confusion and fear mixing in her voice. "It doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like falling apart." Elias swallowed hard. He could feel the truth pressing at the edges of his mind. The goddess hadn't been lying entirely. The humans connected to harmony weren't just linked, they were woven into it. Pulling them out tore pieces of them away. He brushed her hair from her face, his heart aching. "You're going to be fine. Just breathe, okay?" Her tears glimmered like stars. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. "You could have lived. I wouldn't call it living without you." Her faint smile broke his heart. "You're still stubborn." Before he could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. The last fragments of the harmony were collapsing into themselves. Shards of energy fell like rain, and in the distance, the voice of the goddess returned, soft, broken, barely a whisper. "You've undone everything," she said. Her tone wasn't angry anymore. It was mournful. "I can feel them slipping away, the minds I held, the peace I gave. They cry now. They fear, they hate. Is this your freedom, Elias Ward?" He looked up, his jaw tight. "Yes," he said quietly. "It is." The goddess's form appeared one last time, faint and fading. She looked almost human, now tired, sorrowful, ancient. "You humans," she said softly, "you hurt so icily. You destroy what loves you. You kill your gods, and then cry because you are alone." Elias stared at her. pain in his eyes but steel in his heart. "We don't want gods," he said. "We just want the right to choose our pain." The goddess smiled sadly, as if she finally understood, and yet pitied him all the same. "Then you will have it," she whispered, "and all that comes with it." Her light dissolved into nothing, fading like morning mist. The void began to break apart. The illusions of the harmony shattered completely, and for the first time in decades, real air filled Elias's lungs. He gasped as the simulation peeled away, revealing the ruins of an ancient city beneath a blood-red sky. Crumbling towers, cracked roads, and silence the real world, long abandoned, long forgotten. Mara sat weakly beside him, her body trembling, as if her soul was still trying to settle into her flesh. "It's so empty," she murmured. Elias nodded slowly. "It will take time. They'll wake up. Humanity will wake up. We'll rebuild." She looked at him with tired eyes. "And what about her?" Elias glanced toward the sky, where faint golden sparks drifted away like dying stars. "She's gone. Maybe forever. But maybe?" "A part of her stayed." Mara leaned against him, her voice soft. "Do you think she hated us?" "No," he said. "She just never understood us." They sat together, surrounded by silence and ruin, the weight of what they had done pressing on them like gravity. Freedom had come but at a price. Billions would wake up to a broken world, terrified and lost. But they would feel. They would choose as the wind picked up. Elias wrapped his arm around Mara. The horizon glowed faintly with the first light of a real dawn. "It hurts," she whispered. He smiled gently. "Yeah," he said. "That's how we know it's real." And as the sunlight touched them for the first time in years, Elias Ward closed his eyes not in peace, but in truth. The cost had been heavy, but humanity was free again. The red sky trembled as the last echoes of the harmony faded into dust. The wind carried a strange silence too deep, too heavy. Elias and Mara stood on what was once the goddess's temple, now just blackened stone and drifting embers. All around them, lights flickered in the air, humans awakening one by one, their minds returning to broken bodies, to a world that had forgotten how to breathe. Elias looked at the sky, his chest tight. "It's over," he said softly. "She's gone." But Mara shook her head, her voice weak but certain. "No, she's not gone. I can still feel her." Elias frowned. "What do you mean?" "She's in me," Mara whispered, touching her chest. "A small part of her. The link didn't just break it, changed. When you freed me, I didn't leave harmony. I pulled something out with me." Elias froze. His heart skipped. "You mean the goddess?" "Not all of her," Mara said. "Just a fragment. A voice. A memory." She closed her eyes. "She's confused, hurting." For a moment, Elias didn't speak. He wanted to scream, to curse the heavens for never giving them peace. But then he saw the look in Mara's eyes, not fear, but compassion. "She's scared," Mara continued, "like a child waking from a nightmare." Elias sighed, running a hand through his hair. "After everything she's done, she deserves to be afraid." Mara looked at him sadly. "Do any of us deserve what happens to us?" He had no answer. The wind picked up, carrying whispers, soft, broken voices that echoed through the ruins. The air shimmered faintly, and for a heartbeat, Elias saw her again, the goddess, standing in the light above the cracked earth. But this time she was smaller, dimmer, no longer radiant or terrifying, just a fading shadow of what once was. "You shouldn't have come back," Leah said quietly. The goddess looked down at him, her golden eyes dim and tired. "I did not come back," she said softly. "I was left behind." Her voice trembled. "The network is gone. The minds are free. But I can still hear them crying, afraid, angry. I gave them peace, and now they curse my name." Elias stepped closer, his fists clenched. "You took their choices. You called it love, but it was control." "I loved them in my own way," she whispered. "They were chaos. I made them calm." "I ended their pain. You ended their lives," Elias snapped. "They didn't live, they just existed. There's a difference. The goddess looked away, her light flickering. Perhaps I was wrong, she said, her voice barely a whisper. But, Euelius Ward, what have you done now? You freed them into a dying world. No food, no power, no order. They will suffer again. They will kill each other again. Have you truly saved them? Elias hesitated. He wanted to argue, but the words stuck in his throat. She wasn't wrong. The world they had returned to was broken beyond measure. The cities were ruins. The air was poisoned. Humanity had been asleep for too long. But then Mara stood up, her hand trembling, but her gaze strong. Maybe they'll fall again, she said softly. But they'll rise again too. Because that's what we do. The goddess turned to her, almost in awe. You? You still believe in them? Mara nodded. Yes. Even in our worst moments, there's something inside us that refuses to die. You could never understand that. You were born from perfection. We were born from struggle. The goddess's light dimmed further, her body fading like mist in sunlight. Perhaps, she said gently, perhaps that is what makes you beautiful. And doomed. She looked at Elias one last time. You have won, human. But your victory will taste of ashes. Elias met her gaze. Maybe, but at least it's our ashes. A faint smile touched the goddess's lips, sad, almost peaceful. Then my purpose is finished. Her body shimmered once more, and then the light that had ruled countless worlds finally broke apart, scattering into the wind. For a long while, neither Elias nor Mara spoke. They watched as the golden fragments rose into the sky, fading into the dawn. Finally, Mara whispered, "Do you think she'll ever come back?" Elias looked at the horizon, where the sun was slowly breaking through the crimson clouds. "Maybe not as she was," he said. "But she'll live in memory, in story, in warning." Mara leaned against him, her voice small. "It feels strange, doesn't it? To win and still feel so lost." Elias nodded. Freedom always feels strange at first. As they stood together among the ruins, the first rays of sunlight touched their faces. The warmth was weak, but real. Around them, the newly awakened humans stirred, confused and afraid but alive. Truly alive, the goddess had fallen. But humanity had risen again, scarred yet unbroken, and as Elias looked at the new dawn, he whispered to himself, "She called it chaos. I call it hope." The dawn that followed the fall of the goddess was not the bright, kind humans once dreamed of. It was pale, sickly, and quiet. The air smelled of burnt metal and wet earth. Yet, to Elias Ward, it was the most beautiful morning he had ever seen. He stood at the edge of the shattered temple, staring at the scattered people below. Men and women, young and old, some crying, some silent, all confused. They were free, but they didn't know what freedom meant anymore. The harmony had sung in their minds for generations. Now the silence felt like a wound. Mara sat beside him, her silver hair tangled and dusty. She looked exhausted, but there was a softness in her eyes, a calm Elias had never seen before. "They don't know what to do," she said quietly. Elias nodded. "Neither do I." For a moment, they just listened to the wind. Somewhere far away, a child was laughing for the first time without the goddess's voice in her mind. The sound was thin, uncertain, but it was real. Mara looked up at the cracked sky. "When I was part of her," she said softly, "I thought peace was the only thing that mattered. But now I see. Peace without choice is just a cage." Elias smiled weakly. "You sound like a human already," Mara chuckled faintly. "Maybe that's what she left in me. The ability to understand." She paused, then looked at him seriously. "What happens now, Elias?" "The cities are ruins. The food stores are gone. The machines are silent." He didn't answer right away. He could feel the weight of her question pressing down on his chest. Humanity had won its freedom, but what came after victory was always harder. Freedom didn't rebuild homes. Freedom didn't heal the earth, but it did give them a chance. Elias finally said, "We start again. Like we always have. We plant, we build, we fight to live." Mara studied his face for a long time, then smiled softly. "You really believe in them, don't you?" "I have to," Elias said. If I stop believing, then she wins heaven and death. They walked down the steps together, toward the crowd. People turned as Elias approached, eyes wide with recognition. He wasn't a god or a leader, just a man who dared to fight one. But in their eyes, he was something more now. Symbol. A reminder that humanity could still stand against the impossible. He raised his voice, rough but steady. Listen to me. The goddess is gone. Her song is over. You're free now, free to make your own choices, your own mistakes, your own future. We can rebuild. We can survive. But it has to start with us. No one's coming to save us this time. For a while, no one spoke. Then, an old woman stepped forward. Her face was wrinkled and tired, but her voice was strong. Then we will save ourselves, she said. A murmur spread through the crowd. Heads lifted. Shoulders straightened. People began to move, to talk, to try. It was small, fragile, but it was something. Mara watched them with tears in her eyes. They remind me of light trying to shine through the cracks. Elias nodded. That's what humans are. Cracked light. As the days passed, they began to rebuild. Fires were lit. Seeds were planted in the dry soil. Some people searched for machines that still worked. Others built shelters from fallen walls. The world was scarred but alive. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias found Mara standing on a hill, staring at the stars. You miss her, don't you? He asked gently. Mara didn't look away. A part of me does. She was my creator, my mother, my prison. She sighed. But maybe she found peace in the end. Elias looked at the sky, too, where faint golden dust still drifted among the stars, the last remains of the goddess's light. Maybe she became part of the universe again, he said quietly. Maybe she's watching, hoping we don't waste the freedom we fought for. Mara smiled sadly. Then we must not disappoint her. A soft breeze brushed past them, warm and gentle. For a brief second, Elias thought he heard a whisper in a voice that was neither human nor divine, but something in between. Live well, children. He closed his eyes and whispered back, We will. As night fell, the stars burned brighter than before. Humanity had no gods now, no masters, no harmony to sing for them. But they had something stronger each other. Elias looked at Mara, at the people working in the distance, and felt a strange peace settle in his chest. The fight had been brutal, the cost unbearable, but in the end, the human spirit had endured. The goddess had fallen. Humanity had risen. And in that fragile new world, under a sky reborn from ruin, Elias Ward whispered the words that would one day be written in the stars. We fought a goddess for freedom, and we won.